I'd like to welcome Mark Willett to the forum. As you can see, there's more than one version of him presenting to you. A bit like God, he's here and everywhere, isn't he? And he was saying that he needs to be, has a very busy life in Leeds Trinity, where he's the senior media technician. And looking at it, it looked a bit like A&E, didn't it, rather than... So anyway, we'll learn more about what that involves, but also he's had a very interesting career leading up to this present post, and I'm sure you'll be interested to hear of all the things he's done meanwhile since he left school. So, ladies and gentlemen, please a very warm welcome for Mark Willett.
Thank you, Hilary. So, good morning, everybody. Thank you for inviting me. I'll start by saying I'm incredibly nervous. You can probably hear it in my voice, so hopefully I'll settle down a little bit. I've not done public speaking before, and I find it a bit bizarre to be talking about myself, but people have said when I've talked to them about what I've done and what I do that it is very interesting, so hopefully I've got lots of interesting things to tell you this morning. I hope I don't gabble with nervousness. If I start speaking too fast, just put your hand up and tell me to slow down, okay? Somebody said, just tell them a joke, it'll break the ice. And I said, what shall I say? I said, tell them a joke about eyes. The cornier the better. Okay? Don't worry, I won't go on any further. So, I'll start with how I grew up. Music was a big part of our family. I played the piano. We had a musical family, my mum and dad. My dad played the guitar, my mum sang. My brother's a fantastic guitarist, still is. And I learnt to play the piano by ear. And at school, I was always involved in things musical. Filled my bedroom with keyboards, trying to do my best Rick Wakeman impression. And I found out that I could compose and write music. Not so easily read it, but I could write music, even if it was complicated. I could write it down and I could play it. If I heard a tune, I could play it. If someone gave me a piece of music and put it in front of me, I would struggle to play it. But this is me in the sixth form at school, with all my keyboards. And obviously, I was going to do something to do with music in my life. Didn't know what it was going to be, but I'll go to university and I'll do a music degree. So after school, I went to Leeds University, as it happens, and it was full of very talented musicians who were brilliant pianists and brilliant woodwind players and string instruments. Of course, I played the piano by ear. I did scrape through on my grade 7 exam, which is how I managed to get in. I think I got in on my compositional skills as well. But I took up percussion, and I loved it. I used to play in the symphony orchestra, the brass band, the wind band, all the groups that needed a percussionist, and there weren't that many of us around. So apart from having to lug all the kit around, it was great fun. Me and my mate John, we used to be involved in all the shows. We sat at the back of the orchestra, nobody could really see you when you had a great time. So university came and went, and I still didn't know what to do with this music. I was working on a building site. I always worked. I would say I'm a hard worker, so every summer I had various jobs. I worked in warehouses, I worked at Morrison's, I worked behind a bar, I played the piano in a pub that I also worked behind the bar in, and I got paid for that, so that was great. So while people were having the dinner, I'd be sat playing Andrew Lloyd Webber, soft music in the background. And I was thinking, what shall I do with my life? And it was very cold, working on building sites. It got to October, I was trying to find a job. And there was an advert in the paper. Television company requires young person for delivery duties. Radio rentals need a van driver. So it's a job, it's going to be warmer than what I'm doing now. So I rang up, I applied, and I got invited for an interview. And I went to this place on Meanwood Road called Elite Television Production Facilities. So Elite was a facilities house. And in the world of TV, what that means is it had edit suites, it had a TV studio, it had voiceover booth, it had lots of equipment that is needed to make television programs. And people who were making television programs used to come to Elite Television and use the facilities and the people there to make their programs. And this young person for delivery duties was actually a job as a runner. So in television, a runner's job is making the tea, making the coffee, fetching the lunch, taking everybody's orders, going around the building, everybody okay, looking after the camera kit in the camera store, phone call, there's a camera going out tomorrow, make sure all the batteries are all charged, make sure everything's in the bags, everything's labelled up, all the fresh batteries are bagged, etc. So we had lots of camera kit. You progress from being a runner into the CAR, Central Apparatus Room, or the tape bay, as we sometimes called it. This was full of VHS machines, digital beta machines, beta SP machines, all the formats that we used in television at the time. We used to have 50 VHS machines in a big bank, and when somebody had finished editing a television commercial or a TV program, the editor would come out and he'd give me the tape and he'd say, right, the client wants 50 copies of this, or the client wants 100 copies of this program. So I'd put the tape in that machine there, I'd load up all my VHS tapes and get all my remotes and go, right, record, 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 everything running, run down, press play, and make sure it all stayed in record. At the end, you'd stop, you'd have to check 50 VHS tapes, make sure they played at the beginning, the middle, and the end. Then you'd eject them, you'd take them up to label them up, and you'd start with the next batch. So that was kind of tape op job, doing all transfers, making master tapes. Commercials would be edited in the edit suite, and then the master would come out and we would have to do commercial dubs. And back in the day when the ITV regions were all separate, you had Yorkshire TV, you had Central TV, you had Tyne Tees TV, London Weekend Television. So a television commercial would require a master tape going to every single region. So it was my job to create transmission dubs, copies, and then we would dispatch them off via a courier out to all the separate television regions, and then they would, if you were watching in London for an advert about DFS, you got the right stores on your television. If you were watching it in Leeds, you only saw the addresses for the stores in Yorkshire. So commercials had lots of different versions. Had to look after the tape library. Before things went digital and everything was on SD cards that are about the size of your thumb now, everything had to be on tapes. The blue boxes are actually digital tapes. Further up the top, they start to go a bit older, and they were called beta SP tapes. So again, a runner's job would be to fetch tapes from the library, put them back in the library. When it got full, get the ladders out, take the top 2 shelves off, box them up, put them in the attic, and move everything up. So this was in our TV studio, and this gentleman is Stuart Josephs. So he owned Elite Television, and he taught me everything that I know about TV, because he was a very hard taskmaster. He was a tough man to work for, but he let me play with the train kit, as he would say. So at night, as a runner, if the editors were working till 1 o'clock in the morning, I stayed till 1 o'clock in the morning. I made them tea, I went to the curry house, got my curry. But in the meantime, I could sit and watch what they were doing. I could have a go myself in one of the other rooms. I edited my first film on a U-matic machine, great big tapes, real clunky things. They used to make a big noise, clunk, click, as they wound from one to another. We had a video rostrum room, So this is a table here, and it moves north, south, east and west, and it revolves. And up there is a fixed camera. So I would sit at this computer, and the clients would come in with photographs and documents. This is in the days before scanners and, you know, emails and all that kind of thing. You had to bring in photographs and newspaper cuttings. You'd lay them on that table, and we'd program the table to move. So you'll have all watched documentaries on television, particularly historical ones where they're showing old photographs, and sometimes it'll start on a close-up of somebody's eyes and the picture will revolve and spin out, or maps will start to move down. Okay, what it is the camera's not moving, it's the table. You're just zooming out and you're spinning a table. And the client would say, can I have this move in 10 seconds? So you'd put it in, you'd press play, you'd watch it on the screen. Go, is that all right? Yeah, we'll try it a little bit faster. So we'd do it in 8 seconds. And we'd record it to tape. These are a couple of the edit suites that were at Elite Television. Up here we've got an Avid edit suite. This was when computer offline editing was just in its infancy. Now everything's done on computers. When I first started, film was shot on tape, and you had to play the tape into a computer, and then you edited it, and then you played it back out to a tape. Now, I'm actually recording this talk on a camera, and it's recording it onto an SD card, and I can just plug that straight into a computer now and see the pictures instantly. So we would have clients that would come in and sit in here. They would pay lots of money, £250 an hour, to sit in that room with that man who was very clever, and he would stitch all their pictures together. That guy there, Lee, he was the runner who started after I started. So when I stopped being a runner and got promoted to being tape op and doing video rostrum, we had to get another runner. So Lee joined. He became an editor. He's an editor to this day. He's worked on lots of things. He worked on Strictly Come Dancing. He's worked in Glasgow. He works in London. He's all over the place editing. But Stuart wanted to build a dubbing suite, and we put this together, and he sat me in it, and he said, right, you watch what I do. So I sat with him for a few sessions, learnt how it worked, and then he said, right, you do it. And I started to get clients on my own. They would come in and sit with me in the dubbing suite, and we would record voiceovers. I would mix the audio for TV commercials, television programs, and I became all right. I'd say, you know, it was good. They said I was. And that was my main domain. And apart from doing that, I still did rostrum. I still did a bit of tape hopping. I've been there for so long, so I worked at Elite Television from 1993 when I started up to 2009. And by 2000, I became the facilities manager because I'd been there, one of the longest members of staff. So I also dealt with the day-to-day bookings. Clients would ring and say what they wanted. We're making a TV programme. I want your offline edit suite for 8 weeks. How much are you going to charge me? Then I want to do the final online. I'll need to do voiceover recording. I'll need to do a audio dub. Let's book 2 days in for that. And go through all the budgets. Have to book that in, deal with the daily scheduling, as well as doing what I called my day job, which was the audio bit. This was the bit I really enjoyed. There's our voiceover booth. Tiny little padded cell under the stairs. Many a voice, famous voice in there. I think it's alluded to on the description. One day, Patrick Stewart, Captain Jean-Luc Picard, famous Shakespearean actor, rolled up in a taxi. I did know he was coming, it was booked in. And it was to a voiceover recording for BT, I think. And there were no clients, nobody came within, there was no director, no producer. It was actually for someone in LA. So they sent me the script, they faxed it through, said, record this, get several takes, and send it to us afterwards. We didn't do a live connection because it was the middle of the night in LA. So I thought, wow, Patrick Stewart arrives. I made him a cup of tea. I made it myself. I didn't ask the runner. I'm dealing with him. And sat him in the booth. I went upstairs because the audio suite was upstairs. So all day my life was running upstairs, running downstairs. The microphone's not working. Oh, let's just check it. Run back up to the suite. So we'd talk on the talk back. Right, let's go for take one. And we recorded the script. And at the time, our runner's vehicle was a Black London cab. So Stuart had bought an FX4 taxi. I searched high and low for a picture. I wish I could show you a picture of it because we had it all liveried up with elite television and production facilities and pictures of cameras on the side. Anyway, the recording finished and Sir Patrick Stewart said, right, I need to go back to the playhouse because he was in a play. I said, oh, I'll give you a lift in our cab. So that's my tale. I've had Sir Patrick Stewart in the back of my cab. So dropped him off. We gave people, a lot of people lifts in the cab. Apart from the runner going to get lunch in it, people would come up from London. We'd pick them up from the train station. And it was a bit of a travelling advertisement. It was very cold. It never warmed up. Because we were only doing short journeys, you drove everywhere freezing. So at Elite Television, I got to work on all sorts of programmes and commercials. There's just a few frame grabs of some of them. We did SCS commercials, Morrison's, Carpetright, Camelot, Sleep Masters. In the world of TV commercials, they're made by advertising agencies. So it starts with your client, Mr. Morrison. He wants to do his Christmas ads. So he'll tender out to lots of different advertising agencies and they will pitch to win the business. Who's going to make the best ad? So at the time I was at Elite, it was an agency called Poulter's in Leeds. So they won a tranche of business from Morrison's for a couple of years. And Poulter's were one of our clients. They used to edit sound and pictures at Elite Television. So we then got to work on some of the Morrison's commercials. Now that big agency commercials are a hard thing to work on because it's editing by committee. I'm sat there in the dubbing suite. I've got somebody from the agency who's directing operations. And I've got other people from the agency, 2 or 3 sat behind, all with their opinion on how something should sound and how the script should be read. And then there's the people from Morrison's turn up after you've done it and go, not quite what we had in mind. And you have to record. Sometimes the person on the other end of the microphone's still in the booth, listening to all this, and they're trying to do the best, and 101 takes. So TV commercials involve a lot of people. TV programs, documentaries, they're a little bit, not easier, but not as many people fingers in the pie when it comes to the edit suite. You're usually just working with a director or a producer. So a production company will have gone off, sold an idea to Channel 5 at the time. If you remember, probably 2000, 2001, I think. Lee Boyer was in Leeds United. He was involved in a scuffle in Leeds, and there was a big court case about it. So a company called Real Life did a documentary about his story so far, and we edited it. Worked on a series called Baby ER. Birthday Girls. Probably nobody's ever watched this. It was on UK Living. That was the kind of forerunner to One Born Every Minute. It was a series about pregnant couples who were expecting a baby. Every episode had 2 or 3 couples in, and the cameras followed them through the process of having their baby, which that's now turned into One Born Every Minute. I loved working on crime documentaries. The Man Who Killed Susie Lamplugh, The Craze, Their Empire Behind Bars, all brilliant. Really, I got to work on such a varied source of programmes. And of course, when the Twin Towers happened, Channel 5, I I think it was Channel 5, yeah, ran a series of short 5-minute programmes just before 8 o'clock for a couple of years after that were all based on people that were somehow involved in that atrocity, and we used to edit those and dispatch them out to Channel 5. So, during all that time at Elite doing all that, my music didn't get forgotten. I brought my keyboard into the dubbing suite just because I could record stuff. I could use it as a bit of a own recording studio. And one day I ended up just knocking up some music for a client. They were doing a commercial, they needed a bit of music, and instead of going off to the CD library and trying to find something suitable out of a stack of CDs, I just said, we just put a few chords underneath this, and I did it myself. And they loved it. So I started to write a few more bits of music for clients as they came in. We had a production company who were based at Elite Television as well, called Daisy Beck Productions. And they did a special. My first kind of real music credit on TV was an EastEnders type programme when Pauline Fowler finally bit the dust. Can't remember what year it was. At the end of the episode, immediately after it, was a special programme about her life and career. And I kind of had become a master of the sound-alike in music. So that's where you want the music to sound like EastEnders, but not quite be EastEnders. So I'm just going to play you a short clip. So this is the title sequence.
It's a bit difficult when you've got about 19 or 20 scenes to do, but anyway, let's see what was up. She was kind to everybody, but she was so shy that people thought she was tough in hers, but she wasn't. She was a darling. Thank you very much.
She's good fun, she really is. She'll have a bevy with you and have a laugh, and she's a sweetheart.
She's so funny. She'll come out with the most outrageous things that you don't expect.
So I never got sued. Very close to the bone. And the very first proper TV commercial that I scored, I'll play this.
How would you like it? Grilled? Broiled? Microwaved?
Not you, Okie.
The Old Oak hot dogs. Great choice, great name. Okie dokie.
I know it's not very loud, but did anybody get the piece of music I was kind of basing that on?
Mom, we want a hot dog.
How much is that doggy in the window?
Boiled?
Anyway, I won't make you watch it again.
Not you, Okie.
The Old Oak hot dogs. Great choice.
So I started to get my own music credits, which I was extremely proud about. And one of our largest clients was called Real Life Media Productions. And at the time, they were doing a series on Yorkshire television called Zoo Vet at Large. Don't suppose anybody ever remembers that. It used to run at tea time on ITV. And it ran for about 6 series. And after the first series, they'd used a piece of library music that was proving way too expensive to license to be used again. So I dived in and thought, by this time I'd joined the PRS. I thought, I'm playing my music on television, I should be getting some money for this. So I joined the PRS. What I had to do was every time I wrote something, I had to register it with the Performing Rights Society. And then any music that's played on television automatically it somehow gets monitored the stations that are playing it have to deliver reports. So they go, this piece of music was played this many times in this month. PRS get that information and they go, all right, that piece of music, that's by Mark Willett, it was played so many times on this channel, so he gets X amount of money. Same with radio commercials. So I thought, I'll write a theme tune for this, I might get some money. So Zoo Vet at Large, I won't call it my greatest hit. No, I don't play the guitar. But I did it on the keyboard because keyboards were becoming very clever and you could make guitar sounds. So it paid for a couple of summer holidays. I also, at Elite, my boss Stuart, he had fingers in all sorts of pies. And he used to make Carpetright commercials. Now, you must have seen or heard Carpetright commercials on television. They still do them now. He doesn't make them. He's retired now. But between, as long as I was there, Stuart made the Carpetright commercials. And they had campaigns that were kind of based on an idea. So they had a news kind of campaign, a newsreader style delivery. It was all, get down to Carpetright sale, very fast delivery. And they wanted a news theme. So I did the music for that. And that went on radio and television. Now, Carpetright commercials are on forever. They're like DFS. And they did a countdown. So in the morning, it'd be, get down to Carpetright, there's only 12 hours to go. Then the next hour, there's only 11 hours to go. 10, 9, 8, all through the day. On every commercial radio station around the country. That paid for a few summer holidays. It was fantastic. So I had a great time at Elite Television. But after I had a bit of a tragedy in 2004. So I lost my wife and I had a young daughter. So my time at Elite after that slightly changed because I couldn't put in all these hours that I've been putting in. And maybe I just wasn't quite as enthusiastic about the company as I used to be. And towards the end of 2009, I'd kind of had enough because I was spinning too many plates. And one of my clients, Real Life, they wanted to bring all their post-production in-house. And they kind of said, you know, build an edit suite with us and come and make our programs. And that's all you have to do is just the sound and the pictures, nothing else. So that kind of appealed to me. And so I moved companies. It was a bit of a shock. It's a bit of a shock to me. It was certainly a shock to my poor old boss, Stuart, who was not best pleased. But I went and jumped ship and went to work for a production company. So I left the facility house and actually joined a production company. They had a load of old kit, so I managed to get some racks and I built an edit suite. This was an edit suite where clients didn't have to come in. It was just for us, so it didn't have to be all posh and fancy. I had my little mixing for doing the sound. I had computers for doing the pictures, other computers for the emails, computers that we used to take on shoots for getting the stuff off the cards. So at Real Life, we made lots of documentaries. We did lots of stuff for CBBC. Did a great program called Bally Boys. It was nominated for a Children's BAFTA. So I can say I worked on a BAFTA-nominated program. And I got my name on the credits. I did the dubbing and I was the online editor. So at Real Life, pictures took a bit more of a prominent role in my life. So as well as doing the audio dubbing, I started to become a picture grader, adding the colour, doing the edits, I used to start off doing an assemble edit, where all the rushes would come back from a film. I would have the script, and I would bolt stuff together that was too long, and then I would give it to the other editor, and he would snuffle it down. So I was like assistant editor. And I also went out on the shoots as the sound recordist. Now this is something I've not really done a lot of at Elite Television. I did go out once, my very first shoot at Elite Television, this is a funny story, as a runner. Okay, I had the van, a list of kit, take all this kit, drive to Bradford, you're going to meet the cameraman, and he's going to shoot some filming at the museum. So I turn up in Bradford, meet the cameraman, he was called Torrigill, and very nice to meet you. Oh great, you're the new guy from Elite. Very good, right, what we got? Let's open the boot. Open the boot, and he's going, right, yeah, camera, legs, and as soon as the word S of legs had left his lips, I'd already scanned the boot and thought, there's no legs. There's no legs in here. There's no legs. Right, okay, there's no legs. Okay, right, what we'll do this first bit handheld, get the legs sorted. So, back to it. Can somebody get in a taxi? Get me the legs, I've forgotten the legs. I never forgot camera kit after that. So, everybody makes a mistake, hopefully you never make it again. But at real life, I loved going out on the shoots. I loved going out being the sound recordist, and I had my laptop. I used to look after all the media that they shot. So every time the cameraman's card was full, he'd give it to me. I would put it into the computer and back it up on a disk and bring it back to work. Real Life had a big contract with the BBC, and they produced a lot of films for the One Show. Now I'm sure you've all watched the One Show. Okay, just making sure I'm not going over. It's made of little insert films in between the studio bits. You know, it'll go off to some random bizarre link and then go off into a shoot about something. So Real Life actually invented the street barber. Anybody remember the street barber? He used to go around, cut the hair. I think I've worked on I worked on about 500 real life films for the One Show. I did all the street barbers. This is us in Whitby, doing Whitby Goth Festival. This is on Spurn Point. Great cameraman, Tony. David Brown in the country, you can see. A lot of kit, it's heavy. Had to carry that around, and sometimes we had to hike long distances with all that. Got to interview an elephant at Knowsley Safari Park. It was part of the street barber shoot. And a lot of the shoots seem to involve heights. Now I hate heights. Right, Mark, can you go do sound on the shoot next Tuesday? What are we doing? Yeah, it's a Glimpsed at Speed. Glimpsed at Speed was a strand that Phil Tufnell used to present. He'd start off, he'd be driving past in a car and he'd go, oh, what's that over there? Let's go investigate. I had to climb up Grimsby Dock Tower. I had to climb up Chesterfield Spire. Although not many people get to go right out the top, so there were opportunities. This here is Stenigott Mast in Lincolnshire. That's higher than the highest electricity pylon you've ever seen. And first bit of the shoot, we had to climb up, all harnessed. It's used by the army as a heights training exercise thing now. The army, they make them climb up it so that the soldiers have an aptitude for heights, and they make them do things up there so that when they're out in the field in Afghanistan and they have to climb up and rig up things, they can do it. So we were doing a little film about that. I managed to climb up to that first level with Phil Tufnell and the rest of the crew. And that's all it said in the script. We were going to film from that level and do all our pieces to camera. And I thought he didn't like heights. Someone had told me, oh, Phil Tufnell hates heights, this is going to be a tough shoot. So we're nearly done, and he's discussing with the director, and the director's going, oh, yeah, we can't really go any higher, because come on, boys, we've got to go to the top now. I'm like, no chance. I can't do it. Oh, I started to feel sick. The director was, oh, Phil, are you up for going up the top? Yeah, let's do it, boys. So off we started climbing. I got to about there and I froze. I couldn't do it. I had to give my sound. I said to the assistant who was with us, I said, right, make sure those meters hit there when he's talking and press record. Gave him my sound bag and I laid down. I went, well, a soldier had to walk me down leg by leg. I was absolutely petrified. I hated it. It's the only time I've been absolutely fearful that I was going to die because this thing was rocking. Oh, it was awful. Obviously got to work with a lot of the one-show presenters. Dan Snow we did a lot of films with Dan Snow. This one's up on Striding Edge. It was awful weather. I could literally wring the microphone out. It got so wet. How it continued working, I don't know. We were filming these chaps. This chap fell off a mountain in thick fog and snow. And I'm thinking, it's thick fog now. So I was a little bit scared on that shoot. But I had some great experiences. You can see how excited I am in this picture. That is an air refueling plane at Bryce Norton. And we were doing a film about it. So once we'd filmed the interview at the bottom, we got on it and we took off. And we went off and filmed. Now I'll just play a little clip. Some of you might have actually watched this when it went out. Oh, there we go. That's called a clock. That goes on the front of every programme.
In today's global military, there's a need for speed. Planes might need to be scrambled and sent anywhere on the planet. Fast.
The last thing pilots want to have to do is stop to refuel. The answer: take the service station with you.
Pilots rely on air to
I'm sat in that.
so planes get to destinations quicker and stay in the air longer. Voyager is a multi-use converted Airbus A330. It's based here at RAF Bryce Norton in Oxfordshire, and I'm going to get a ride on one of the world's most expensive petrol pumps. It's a technology where Britain is a world leader, and one man made it possible, Sir Alan Cobble.
He was a real
Okay,
celebrity.
so you get the idea.
First man to fly to India and back. First man to fly to Australia.
And we'd do an interview on the plane, and there would be, an expert talking about something. It involved a lot of travel, but I was never away from home for a long time. It was an odd night away. We used to go away down south, drive down the afternoon, get a lovely meal in a hotel with the crew, the director, the cameraman, the presenter, sit around chatting. We'd go off and film. Quite a lot of time. I had to turn my hotel room into a mock voiceover recording booth because sometimes the script would be finished, and just to save a bit of money we would record the presenter doing the voiceover in the hotel. So try and make the sound as dead as possible, stick a towel over all the gubbins on the dressing table and get them to sit there. I worked with Carol Vorderman a couple of times. Now this tale is more about always being nice to people that you meet because they remember you. And I did quite a lot of voiceover recordings at Elite because she was doing Countdown at Yorkshire Television. It was only down the road. And sometimes if adverts needed Carol Vorderman's voice, she would pop into Elite and we would do something that's called an ISDN session. So she's sat in the booth, I'm sat in the audio suite, and it's a bit like a telephone. We dial up a high quality audio line and patch it through to another studio. Sometimes they're recording it, sometimes they're just listening and I'm recording it. Anyway, one of the one-show films, she was going to fly around the world like Mildred Bruce. So we turned up at Brough Airfield and she flew us we arrived in the car, she arrived in the plane. And she gets out, takes her helmet off, and she spots me and she goes, I know you. And this was 7 years down the line since I'd last seen her. I said, yeah, I used to come in Elite. Oh, yes, yes. And I thought, wow, Carol Vorderman remembers me. So that particular shoot, again, one of my other big mistakes, I'd hired a audio recorder that I'd never used before because we were going to send her up in a plane that only fit her in it. It was a single seat, so I rigged up all the GoPro cameras to film her doing her pieces to camera in the plane. Now they don't record sound very well, so I'd hired this recorder, set it all up, pressed the record button, could see the meters going. Right, we're all good. Right, off you go, Carol. She takes off, flies around for 20 minutes, does all these pieces to camera that she's got to do. Lands back down. How did that go? Yep, think I got it all done. Okay, I'll take the cameras down. And I picked the recorder up off the seat. And I looked at it and I noticed it was in pause record. Because when you press the recorder on this button, and bizarrely, the same recorders that we actually use at the university now, they haven't gone into record. What am I going to do? So, fortunately, because I was a nice person and she liked me, she saw the funny side. The director didn't at first, but she just took off and did it again. My life was saved. So, over there. I loved my time at Real Life. That was the best job I'd ever had. Elite was the best job I'd ever had, up to a point. Then I got a job at Real Life. Loved working on the One Show, loved doing all these different films. But the One Show is a bit of a hard slog, and I think my governors got a bit fed up with it. They'd had enough. I think they'd made a shed load of cash, and they didn't want to do it anymore. So they just stopped. We're not doing Real Life anymore. Everybody go get a different job. And that was December 2015. So I was a bit gutted. Said, Mark, here's the edit suite. Take it, go be a freelance editor. If we do something new and we need some editing, we'll come to you. So, okay, one client. I thought, right, I've got to find work. I'm in charge now. I rang a few people that I knew over the years. You know, I'm going to go freelance. Oh, yeah, well, we've got a lot coming up in May, June next year. May, June, okay, this is December. So over Christmas, I was thinking, no, I'm not sure I really want to do this. Do I want to stay in TV? Shall I do something completely different? And my wife worked at Fujitsu. She says, well, if you want to do something different, they're looking for IT technicians, training on the job. So, I've never done that before. I'll go for an interview. Went for an interview, rang me the next day, can you start on Monday? So, yeah, I can. So I went and I started working with Fujitsu as a mobile IT engineer, which involved things as simple as plugging a scanner in McDonald's tills, going up to Scotland to deliver a PC and put it on somebody's desk, plug it up, working with Balfour Beatty on all the building sites, going round and setting up computers for whatever project they were building. And it was quite good. Loved going round in my little van. It was a very easy job. Money was awful, but my boss got wind of my video background. He'd obviously seen my CV, and he was like, yeah, can you help us make some training videos for the engineers about what it is we're doing? I was like, yeah, of course I can. So got a camera, went out. He gave me some time off, paid time off to do it, and I started to make videos for Fujitsu. I thought, I can see where this is going. Maybe it wasn't such a bad move after all. I could see maybe me becoming a video engineer for Fujitsu technology. And I just happened to bump into a friend of mine who works at Leeds Trinity University one Easter Sunday. I was out for a walk on Otley Shevin, and he said, I haven't seen him for a couple of years. He said, I was going to give you a call. There's a position coming up at the university. I thought of you. I said, well, I'm working for Fujitsu now. It's okay. He He said, well, I'll send you the details. So he did. And it was for the senior media technician post. And I read the spec. And I thought, wow, that's me, I want to do that. I want to do that. So I applied, obviously. And I went for the interview and I got the job. So, this is the current chapter of my life at Leeds Trinity University. I sit at a very messy desk. This is my mission control in the Media Services office. Media Services, we look after all the camera kit, all the things to do with media that the students need to do media, film and journalism courses. And we look after all the AV across the campus. We have a help desk where the students can come up and go, can I borrow a camera? Can I have a DSLR camera? Can I have an audio recorder? And it's a bit like the library. Everything's got a barcode on it. We scan it out, we give it to them, bring that back on Thursday, Friday, whatever. I have racks and racks of different types of cameras that we look after. Constantly trying to keep up with technology. So when a new camera arrives, I have to learn it so that then I can teach the students how that camera works. Batteries galore, that's our battery charging station. Yeah, I'm sure you've all got a few battery chargers at home. They're all ours. We look after over 40 iPhones. We have to manage them, hand them out, get them back, wipe them, reconfigure them. Why do we have iPhones? Because in journalism now, there's a big move towards a thing that's called MOJO, mobile journalism. There's actually some news companies out there. There's a company in Sweden, somewhere else in Europe, that produce all their news solely off an iPhone. They don't use big cameras. They send their reporters out with an iPhone because the cameras on iPhones now are fantastic. You can do so much on an iPhone. You can film a story. I could be filming now. I could edit it on my iPhone. I could post it onto social media, or I could send it back to the TV station as a finished package. This is Mark Willett speaking at the Forum 2000. This is his report. Back to BBC and it's on Look North tonight. If only. We have cables galore. These boxes here, they're all full of different types of connector cables, different phone chargers, different SD cards for different cameras, lighting kits, different types of tripods. And we have a studio. That was the thing that really, when I looked around the place, got me excited. They had a fantastic TV studio. This was the original news set. Every year the journalists do a programme called Yorkshire Voice. Well, they do several Yorkshire Voice programmes. It's a news-based programme and they transmit it live on the internet to put them under the same pressure as if they were going to do a live programme on real TV. And the studio was a little bit drab when I arrived, and I thought I'm going to make my mission to really get the most out of this TV studio. I'd never used a vision mixer before. 2 weeks after I started, I was supposed to be vision mixing one of the programmes because the postgraduates were doing it and there was only 6 of them. There wasn't enough students for them to press all the buttons as well as present. So we as staff used to facilitate that for them, so I had to learn a vision mixer very quickly. I love doing that now. I love pressing buttons. But I thought, let's get some better lighting in the studio. So you can see we went from that kind of set with a very old-fashioned background to let's bring the place to life with lights. You can see Duncan and Christine from Calendar there. They come in on a regular basis to give talks and workshops to the students. We run a journalism week every year, usually in November. Some of you may have seen stuff about it. It is open to the public, and we have guest speakers that come along and talk to the students, just like I'm doing now. On open days, anybody's welcome to an open day at Leeds Trinity if you're ever interested to just come and look round the place. And you can take part in activities in the TV studio. These are some of the students working in the gallery. So they will get some tuition from a tutor about how the studio works, but they're left to their own devices a lot of the time. Go rehearse, go make a program, make something up. And they will come to us and go, oh, I'm stuck in the studio, how do you do this, how do you do that? So that's a lot of my job now, is going in and going, well, you do it this way. And I get to pass on everything I learned from Stuart, everything I learned at Real Life, and I get to pass it on to the students, and I love it. We have a smaller TV studio, we have Mac labs, PC labs. It's a very relaxed place to work. It's great seeing the students around campus doing various filming activities. Sometimes I get involved in filming, sometimes I'm helping marketing, so I get to keep a finger in all sorts of pies. Great radio facilities. The students obviously study radio as part of broadcast journalism, and we have links with BCB in Bradford, and we actually provide content for that station as part of the student's course. So every level 5 and every level 6 student will have to produce live shows. They do it in week blocks, and at 4 o'clock every day they are what's going out on BCB radio in Bradford. We just link into their station and the students create and deliver a show, which is a fantastic experience for them. And as I said before, as well as doing all that, we look after all the media equipment. It was quite bizarre this morning to come in and find Andy setting up all the cables and the screen, because that's kind of my job at Leeds Trinity. I have to look after the projectors in the main auditorium. We're constantly updating things like the lectern. We've got digital input screens here. It's all touchscreen control. We've got a pull-out tray with all different types of microphones you can wear. The auditorium seats about 300 in that one. We've slightly smaller lecture theatres and large spaces. A typical classroom. So if we were refreshing this classroom, we'd have put in a new lectern. That's a new projector and a new touch smart board. Before, it would have had an old projector hanging from the ceiling and very much going onto a screen like this. So we're constantly trying to update the technology in the rooms. Some rooms we have touch screens where you can go up and it's like a big iPad on the wall. Some rooms are quite specialist. So this is a collaboration room. You've got your lecture stand at the front with the screen and the projector, but all these tables, they all have screens around the outside, so students can be working in a group. You can have 8 or 9 groups working around the room, and the lecturer can then go, let's have a look at what group 5 are doing, and press a button and groups 5 stuff will come up on the screen. Or we can send groups 5's work and put it on everybody's screen, so we've got full control over all the screens in that room. And large teaching spaces, with or without technology. Sometimes we just have large groups, they just need a big classroom where they can sit and be taught. But sometimes they want to use a computer. Press a button in this room, middle of this desk will raise up, there's all your computers. Don't want to use a computer, press a button and it will disappear down again, and it's just a flat classroom. So as media services, we get involved in designing the rooms like this. So that side of things was new to me, but I think I've taken to it like a duck to water. I really enjoy it. In the psychology department, they have a suite of monitoring rooms where they can do social experiments, so cameras in the ceiling, recording what's happening in the room, and it's all controlled from there, so we had to design and install that. Anybody been in the chapel? Anybody been up to Leeds Trinity University? I'm sure there should be one or two if you're using the library or you just go to church. Or it's got the most beautiful, stunning chapel, and we use it for our graduation ceremonies. And again, media services, we set up camera kit, we move part of our TV studio kit into the chapel, And we teach the students how to operate the cameras, how to operate this, and we do a live stream. So every graduation ceremony in summer and in winter, we film them, multi-camera, and we mix it live, and we live stream it. So if there's a Chinese student and their grandparents are in China, they can actually watch them graduating live, you know, anywhere in the world. You might be wondering, well, what's happened to the music at this stage? Well, bizarrely, I still do a bit. I decided for the 50th anniversary, I'll write an anthem for the university. Well, maybe they'll pick it up. Maybe everybody could sing it and we'll record it. It never quite happened the way I envisaged it, but they started to do a children's university where the little kids from school, they come and do activities at the university, try and get university life embroiled into them at a young age. So you've got a captive audience and they've got Leeds Trinity in their brain for when they get that bit older and they're thinking about going to university. And for that ceremony, they wanted some music. Can we have some, Mark, we need some music for when they process in. So, play mine. So I recorded it in my studio at home and they played it and they went, oh, that's great, love it. And then the next year, if you've not been to Leeds Trinity, there's a fantastic pipe organ in the chapel. That was the other bonus of the job. Mark, you can play the organ anytime you want. Well, that had been an ambition. I wrote to Jim will fix it, dare I say it. Back when I was a tiny teenager, dear Jim, can you fix it for me to play a pipe organ in a cathedral? Never got an answer. But my dream came true. Jumped on the organ, had a play. So the next time there was a graduation ceremony for the kids, I played my composition live. I didn't play the recording. And I was as nervous about doing it. My hands were shaking on the keyboard as nervous as I was at starting this talk today. And eventually I got into the swing of it. So music still plays a little part. Sometimes if I do a little video for marketing, I record podcasts for the Leeds Trinity Business Network. And we put a little music, they wanted a music sting on the end and the beginning. So I wrote that. So I don't earn money out of it, but, you know, I still do a bit of music. So I've just picked, I asked the university for, you know, what can I say about Leeds Trinity that I don't already know that you'd like me to get across today, and they sent pages of stuff. So I just picked out some key things that actually really mean a lot to me. We're the only university that does professional work placements for every student. Now that's partly down to our size. We have 3,500 plus students. There's no way Leeds University with its 40 plus thousand students could offer work placements. We can. We're ranked top 15 universities for teaching and quality and student experience. And 95% of our students are employed within 6 months after graduation. So, you know, we must be doing something right. We have links with lots of local businesses in order to get those work placements. Indeed, production companies, when I was at Real Life, we used to get students from Leeds Trinity. In fact, I remember one guy, Josh Stead, I think his name was. He was brilliant. He came and worked with us on the One Show. He then became one of the major news producers at Calendar, Yorkshire, and he's now moved to higher things at Granada over in Manchester, doing fabulous. We have an enterprise centre that encourages students who want to start up their own businesses. And quite a lot of students have done well with their own business. One of the media graduates from last year set up her own music business. She does singing tuition, she runs a choir, she sings in events and weddings, but she's running a very successful business. Another media student has set up a photography business for pets, does pet portraits, all with the support of the Enterprise Centre. Obviously the students are very happy with what we do most of the time. because the results are there for everyone to see. And this last thing, Leeds Trinity has always been characterised by its sense of community, where students are a name, not a number. That's our tagline. You're a name, not a number. And it's true. I love meeting all the students at the start of term. You stand in front of a room full of people, the tutors introduce themselves. I have to go in and, a bit nervous like today, go, "Hi, I'm Mark from Media Services, and this is the team I work with." And over the course of a year, I start to learn everybody's names, so that when people come to the counter, you feel more like you're dealing with an individual. So I work in a world of cameras. I wish there was that many of me running around the place, because it can be quite hectic. But every day is different. I quite like, I never know what's going to happen. I never know what's going to come next. I never thought I'd be stood here doing this today. Despite being nervous, I've enjoyed it. I run around. I actually run. People tell me to stop running. And there was nothing made me prouder than bringing my old governor back and showing him around. So that's me. And I love it.
Right, thank you very much, Mark, for that very detailed picture of your life and how interesting and challenging. I'm sure you've got lots of questions. Could you wait till the microphone comes to you before you ask a question? So where we start?
That was the most inspirational talk I think I've heard before.
Thank you.
For many, many years. Thank you very much indeed. And if you're looking for a new outlet, I think you found it today. But on a more serious note, I'm just so inspired at the way you write your melodies and get them used professionally. When most of the professionals, and I have one in my family, will write music professionally using Sibelius, which is the industry standard, I'm sure you know, for writing music on a computer. So please don't go to that. Because it's just magic. Thank you.
I was just in the right place at the right time. I think what happened with my music is just sheer luck. I didn't have to try, I didn't have to market myself. You know, I was in the room, the client needed some music, I'll do it. People have said to me, did you not consider making a business out of that? I could have earned a lot of money. And I'll tell you why I've never gone down that route. Because when I've written a tune, I've written it how I wanted it. That's how I envisaged it in my head, and I recorded it how I wanted it to sound. Now, if you do that as a business, and you commission me to write the music for your commercial, I'll go off and I'll write it, and I'll go, here it is, and I'll play it to you. But then you'll go, yeah, don't like the trumpet. Can you get rid of the trumpet? Or can we try it with guitars? Now, at that point there, my heart sinks, because no. And you can't say no to a client, they're paying you money. So that is the main reason I've never gone down pursuing commercial music and making money out of it, despite all the money that I could have made from it. For me, my career's I've never been financially driven. I just like to work. I've never been extremely well paid. I earned more. It bumped my salary up from the royalties from the music when it happened, and when it stopped being played, that was it. I enjoyed it.
Would it be possible to hear the music that you compose for the graduation ceremony. Have you got a copy?
Do you know? I think I do. Just by chance, actually. Really, I think it's on my drive. I'm going to put these in. Thank you. One more verse. So I recorded that in Pro Tools, not Cubase. So I did use a computer, and I just picked all the different orchestral instruments, but I played them on a keyboard. So even the timpani, do a timpani roll, you're doing it like that on the letter C. So, yeah.
Could you tell me, do you ever feel disappointed that nobody notices or remembers the music you write for commercials?
I don't feel disappointed because I remember I remember my music on commercials. Do people not remember music on commercials? I don't agree. I think they do. I think the music in commercials is actually sometimes more important than the pictures, particularly if it's a commercial track, you know, where they've used pop music. It becomes very associated with the product. I'm racking my brain to try and think of an example, but I don't agree that music's not noticed. It's not just background. I think it's the key ingredient in a commercial. Yes, nobody knows who's written the music on most commercials. They are unknown composers, and there's hundreds of them out there earning lots of music. There's a chap called Terry Divine King, who I bet nobody's ever heard of him. He is one of the most prolific television composers you'll ever come across. TV, adverts, theme tunes. Nobody knows who he is. He probably lives in a massive palace somewhere. He just obviously doesn't need to be famous.
I was reverting to your photograph of the graduation ceremony. I was struck by the fact that all the graduates were female, or the ones that I could see in the photograph were female. Do they represent more than 15% of the student body?
No, I think that was just random
That was happenstance, was it?
circumstance on that day when that photograph was taken. Maybe most of the females were sat at the end of that row. They're sat in module order so that when they're called up. And yes, there is probably a 60-40 female-male ratio to my eyes up there, but there's nothing other than that with that. It's just random, I think, if you've picked that out of that photo. Yeah.
Hi, we often hear in the press rather derogatory comments about media studies and people going to university to do it, but it's quite clear from your presentation and from what happens at Leeds Trinity that this is a big earner in terms of an industry in the UK. Perhaps you'd like to comment on how valuable these kind of degrees are to, you know, the students that go on and do and work in the industry in television or film or whatever.
Okay, so first of all, a gripe I have with students that come to do media is they expect to leave and get that job that pays 30 grand straight away. And I still believe they need to do the same 6 or 7 years I had to do sometimes to reach that. There's an expectation that they just expect to walk into being an editor straight away or being a cameraman and not work your way up from the bottom. Channel 4 are coming to Leeds next year. There is a shortage of editors in Leeds. Somebody told me that they're actually shipping, there's so much television being produced in Leeds now through the various production companies, they're shipping editors up from London. Okay? So that can only be a fantastic thing for our graduates. Now, they're not going to leave and become an editor for Big Brother or whatever the next production is, Kay Mellor's film produced in Leeds. But they will get their foot in the door and work as a production assistant, as a researcher. Researcher is the main foot in the door in both journalism and television production, factual documentaries, etc. You will spend a lot of your time on the telephone, getting contacts. You'll have a programme idea that will be given to you and you've got to research that. And part of that research will involve making a taster tape, going out and filming the subject. We've got this great guy who works behind a bar in Blackpool. He's been there for 50 years and he dresses up as Elvis every night. Go film him. Is he any good on camera? What's he like? What's he like speaking? So if the students haven't learned how to use, they might not going to be a cameraman, but they need to know how to use a camera, how to get a shot in focus. So that's what we're teaching them. They're not all going to be editors, they're not all going to be cameramen, they're not all going to be sound recordists. But these days you have to know all those skills regardless of what job really you're going to do in the media industry. We live in a world of social media. Everything's online content. So there is so much more video content being produced these days that there are more jobs out there to produce it. Companies have social media managers to manage the Twitter. And that isn't just sending tweets all day, it's producing the content for that. So it's not just an oddity. It used to be at school, you know, if you weren't much good at anything else and go do media studies. Yes, I agree. But that was back in the late 80s, early 90s. Now it's right up there with your maths, physics, media.
Just coming back to your earlier point about when you do a piece of music and the client wants it changing in some way. But you said that you can't change it, is that right? I'm just wondering the reason why you can't change the music.
I could change it, but I don't want to, because, yeah.
So you don't want to fit in with the client then? Well, what the client wants?
It would depend. If what the client wanted was fairly obvious, I would have hoped I'd have got it right in the first place. But if the university said, that's great, but let's have it done as a rock band, I don't think that tune would work. I wouldn't want to be really going down that route.
Thank you.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
Thank you.
When you look at Radio Times and the number of programmes that are available on TV and radio, and then when you look at the journalism and the printed press, it must be an enormous industry within the UK and worldwide. Have you got any idea, any feel for what the proportion of employment within the UK is devoted to the broad spread of media? It must be enormous.
Honestly, no, I can't answer that question actually. I'd be guessing. I know in journalism's having a hard time in the print press at the minute, which would have been a big outlet for a lot of the journalism students, would have gone on and worked at Johnson Press, Yorkshire Post, local papers, and as we all know they're closing left, right and centre. But it's been replaced with online content. So they still need the reporters out there gathering that content. But rather than going out with your notepad and pen, you're going out with an iPhone now, and you're becoming a video reporter almost. How does it fit? I don't know numbers, I'm afraid, as to how it might fit in the grand scheme of things.
It's almost impossible to guess, but it must be an enormous industry, really, with the amount of content that's available in one form or another.
Well, if you just think of radio alone, you used to have BBC Radio 1, 2, 3, 4, then Radio 5 came along. There's always been a few commercial radio stations, but now they're popping up all over the place. You've got community radio stations, local radio stations. So there's more and more outlets requiring A, the content, and B, the people to produce, manage and transmit that content. So more jobs for the boys and girls.
Could I ask you a question about your team? You said you're heading up a team, so how many people in the team?
Yes, I should make it clear, it's not all me. I'm not even the boss, so I work for the media services manager, he's in charge. I'm the senior media technician, so I answer to him and I look after the day-to-day running of the place with 3 other colleagues. So I've got Alex, who's a photography expert. He's been brought in because we've started a photography degree this year. I've no background in photography. I can pick up a camera and take a picture, but trying to teach a big stills camera to a student, that's not something I can achieve. So we needed to get somebody who was proficient in photography. I work with another chap called Way, and another gentleman called Mohammed. And they're both very good videographers, great at computers, graphics, editing, slightly different backgrounds to mine. They're younger than I am as well. And we work as a team to support the students. We go into the lectures when the staff require us, and we run around the university fixing projectors. I just maintain that I run faster than any of them, so I usually get there first.
Looking at your equipment and your recording system, so that you know where everything is, that seems a vast job in its own way. Do they all keep up to date with everything as well as running around and doing things, or do you have somebody who actually records what you've got in stock and in and out? Seems that with a team of 4 people, it's a huge job.
It is.
A librarian couldn't cope with that.
So, my answer was going to be, it's exactly the same as a library. The books all get categorised. You get a new book, you have to put a stamp on, you have to enter it into the library system.
So you do that?
We do that. I do most of it. So when we buy 30 new cameras, we unpack the box. There's 30 cameras, so I have to stick 30 barcodes on. There's 30 lenses. That lens can come off the camera. The student could take the lens off. They could lose that. I better barcode the lens. There's a cable that charges the camera. They could lose that. I better barcode that. You can see where I'm going. So a student takes a camera out, I have to scan 5 items, several batteries.
Time consuming, so
Yeah.
how do you manage
So I have to
all that and all the other
put that
things?
into a computer system that's very much like the library. So just like the student will go and get a book out and they'd scan it out the library, we scan the kit. So yeah, we have to.
But the actual recording everything.
It is very time consuming. I've spent all day Friday unboxing new photography kit and doing just that. It took nearly all day, sticking stickers on. And we share the work. Look, you stick the stickers on, I'll stick it in the library, you stick it in the database. So we're actually looking at buying a new system this year that combines everything into just one place, so we don't have to. We have an asset registry. What have we bought? What does the university own, in case the insurance man or the audit man wants to know? And then we have the library system for scanning stuff out to students. Not everything needs to go in that. A projector in a room isn't going to be hired out to a student, so I don't have to put that in the library. It just goes into the asset register.
And the same sort of, following the same idea, you started as a tea boy and did a lot of other jobs and then gradually. Is there a sort of hierarchy where somebody could actually start to learn the ropes and then take a better job and then a better job? Or it seems to me you went from your first job in action as opposed to a tea boy, and then you just did everything else that was there. Is that still the case for a learner?
It depends on the company. So again, I was very lucky. Our company at Elite was very small, so there was only 7 members of staff. So that's how I had to be multitasking. If you joined a massive production company like Roland Productions, run by Kay Miller, down on Kirkstall Road, as say a researcher, then yes, the progression up the ladder could be a bit slower because, you know, there's a lot more people. There's a lot more people wanting to do separate jobs. And there aren't as many of those separate jobs around. They're all rolled into that one computer. The editor doesn't need to do rostrum anymore. He'll be sent a digital photograph, he just puts it in the computer and he can rotate it and do all those moves himself. So rostrum's dead, that job's gone.
So what about the jobs for all these, how many students graduate in media studies in a year, would you think?
So the cohort at Leeds Trinity is about between 300 and 400 over the 3 years. So every year you might get 70 new students come in to do journalism, you might get 100, 120 students come in to study media. And when I say media, a media degree isn't just a media degree. Some of them want to do film studies. So a lot of their lectures, they will sit and watch and analyse films and maybe produce the film. They want to be filmmakers. Some will do broadcast journalism. They want to be newsreaders and reporters on screen. So they'll do a lot in the television studio and a lot in the radio studio. Some just do a straight journalism degree, which kind of covers all aspects like law, reporting, shorthand, and they're not as interested in the radio and the TV side of things. You could do television broadcasting. So again, a lot of work in the TV studio, creating shows. The students have a free rein. They could do a music show. They could do a chat show. We make chat show kind of sets in the studio, very much like the One Show. We've recorded bands in there where they've done music reviews. Or you could just do, I think the straight media degree is more about analysing media. What is the world of media about? Studying different
and where
forms.
will they go in the world of work then? When they're qualified, are there jobs for them?
Yeah. So some of them will go into the practical side of things, as I mentioned, editing, sound, hands-on camera work. Some of them will become producers, directors. Eventually, they will start as researchers, and that's where they want to go. So some people get jobs slightly unrelated to start with. You know, they might just go and work for an advertising agency. but the media degree kind of helps them get in there.
Any other questions?
You were saying earlier on that all the time you're fighting to keep in front of new technology. I mean, for people like me, it's even worse. I mean, you buy a new TV, which is basically a computer today, and before you get it out of the box, it's out of date. All this equipment that you have, that you're replacing, is it something that you can recycle somewhere else, or is it straight into the skip?
Okay, so the university generally has a 5-year rolling programme. So the cameras that we've bought this year, 2018, we will replace in 2023. The projectors that I showed you on those slides, every 5 years, in theory, sometimes it's 6 or 7, we will take that out and put the latest thing in because we don't just want projectors anymore. What happens to that kit? Sometimes it's just obsolete. It really has become so old that nobody wants it. Sadly, we have become very much a throwaway society. We work with a charity in Bradford. I wish I could remember the name, but we ring them up and we say, we're having a clear out. We've got all this kit. They come and look at it. And they work with disadvantaged children across Bradford, and they set up kind of like youth centres, community centres that maybe don't have projection equipment like this already, and we donate it to them. But unfortunately, it is older equipment, and because everybody today is so used to digital technology, some people don't want it. So sadly, it does, to keep up with technology does mean sadly filling a skip. And it might seem not a waste of money, but 5 years really? Spend 80 grand on several cameras, and then in another 5 years spend another 80 grand. Those cameras get some hammer. They're in and out all day. They get bashed, broken. We're constantly repairing them. You know, they have a good life in that 5 years. So, you know, they're ready for retirement when the time comes.
The students need to learn on what's the latest equipment, don't they?
Exactly that. The move, the thing we're working on at the moment is everybody's got iPhones. We all want to open our iPhone and just go, and it appears on there. So I could have done my PowerPoint today. In fact, I wasn't sure what equipment you had. So I put it on my phone and I brought a cable. I thought, well, at least I'll be able to plug my phone into the projector and I'll just do what the PC was doing. And I could have done it off my phone. What we want to move to is I could be discussing music in TV commercials, and you could go, well, what about this commercial? And you get your phone out and you put it up on the screen. And then you go, oh, I've got a better one, and you play yours on the screen. So it's, how do I get all your phones up on the screen? And I go, right, let's choose your phone. Let's choose your phone. That's our next project in the next couple of years. That's where technology is moving. It's all about phones. Students want to bring their own devices into the room and not even have to get the cable and plug it in. They just want everything to be wireless. So that's...
Don't say anymore, because you're frightening me to death.
Yeah. All our brains are going to cook.
Just mention that our speaker next week is not using any equipment except his voice and his brain.
When's your next open day?
Oh, somebody asked me that. We do a couple of open days in June and July, which are usually well publicised, but the main tranche of open days, so that it fits in with what lower sixth students need to go around and then start applying, are usually October, November and December. I don't know the dates off the top of my head, but there will be some in June and July, and then September, October, November, December.
Just one other point. It's a relatively new industry, and I wonder what opportunities there are for older people as they technology moves on. Obviously, to keep up to date with the development, but it must be almost impossible for older people to maintain the momentum that they need for this type of industry. Where do they go?
Okay, I get what you're saying. My in-laws are doing really well, struggling to keep up. That they've got their iPhones, and it amazes me that they do what they do on it. My father-in-law, he's always selling stuff on eBay. I think, wow. And he was a technophobe, but he's mastered it. Should we be running at Leeds Trinity a night school for phone technology? Yeah, okay. I'm going to go back and tell them that.
What I mean really is the older people who are employed in the industry, do they become unemployable at a later stage?
You either have to keep up or fall behind. I have to keep up. All this new stuff that comes in, I have to learn it, and I have to know how it works in order to show the students and the tutors how it works.
But we're approaching the time when the pension age will be 65, and I'm thinking really of the people who are in their
50s now.
50s and 60s. What opportunities do you see for them as the technology develops?
They'd either have to learn on the job they're doing, or maybe their company should be funding training if there's a significant change in the kit that they're using. In the television industry, most editors have had to just go with the flow. I remember when I first started back in 1993, and the computer editing systems were just coming out, we were constantly getting editors from Yorkshire TV wanting to come up and do a little bit of training on our Avid systems, because the new Yorkshire TV were getting all these Avids in. They'd worked on old Steenbeck machines where you laced up the film and you used the foot pedals and you got your scissors out and your chalk and you marked it up. And all of a sudden, their next edit was going to be on a computer. So particularly editors just have to go with the flow and keep up to date, or they won't get the work. And most editors are freelance. So again, at Elite, we were very lucky that we were employed by a company, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. We didn't have to ring the phone and worry about where our next paycheck was coming from. But most editors these days, a lot of media jobs that the students will go into, it is a freelance industry. And it'll be a checkerboard career. You won't go into a job for life. You will have several jobs in the industry.
Laura Bannister's being retired. So, I think that will have to be our last question, comment. It's been very interesting and challenging, but your last few remarks have made us think, well, maybe not for us. Thank you very much, Mark, for this wonderful presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.